calculus of music. That's why and then Jenni just called that jazz is the what?
The calculus.
The calculus of music.
It's hard to do, Mr. Rollins. You're being studied at the universities. You're being studied as a part of the theory classes. It seems like I read that you were self-taught, and maybe you didn't know all the rules, and so maybe you didn't know you were stretching them and bending them and remaking them because you fall straight within a lot of what the music theory is, and the toughest assignment that my son Oscar said he ever got was to take and write down every note that you did as a part of Tenor Madness. They gave him a section of Tenor Madness, and they told him, don't use a computer, just use your ears and see if you can figure what Sonny Rollins did. And and that's another question that he had for you that I'd like to ask you is, you were mentored by some of the greats within jazz, and now you are mentoring millions and millions. Your music is going forward and mentoring millions of jazz musicians. How do you feel about that?
Well, I feel very humbled about it because I am a spiritual person who believes that whatever I have is owed to my maker, my creator, and so if I'm able to pass on something which was a gift to me, I studied music, I practiced all that, but I didn't really. A lot of guys studied and practiced, but they weren't given the particular talent, maybe that I had. So it comes from another place, and if I can give it to somebody else or inspire somebody else, then I think that I'm creating a little bit of good vibrations for me when I have to meet my creator,
But on the other side, sir, it's like Michael Jordan. I mean, they talk about the skills, how he elevated it, but he practiced all the time.
Right.
I mean, he didn't just take that natural gift that God had given him, and that's all it was about, and he didn't show up. He was the first to get to practice. He was the last guy to leave. And he honed it, and he took responsibility for it.
Right.
And I think by doing it, I from what I've gathered from your volumes of work, you did the same thing, which led to your frustration. Everybody talks about reaching the apex of modern jazz, how you felt frustrated and you withdrew from public view in August 1959 and stayed out of view for a couple of years. Which meant during that time you went and practiced your horn while walking the Williamsburg Bridge. Can you wasn't that a frustration, that thing that was in your mind and in your heart, you couldn't get through the horn?
Right, exactly. And that was exacerbated by the fact that a lot of people were beginning to notice me and give me a lot of credit and a lot of acclaim and everything, and I really wanted to make sure that I was taking care of business because I don't want to be somebody that doesn't deliver. If you pay for something, you want to get your value. So I wanted to be able to live up to all of the claim I was getting from the jazz community. So I went back and cut out and said, okay, I'm going to go back in the woodshed, as we say. And I practiced on the Williamsburg Bridge and got myself a little closer to where I want to be. And then I came back. So, yes, you have to practice. You have to use what gift you have. You do have to practice, But what I was saying was that a lot of my friends and people I know, they would practice all night long, but they still didn't have the particular talent that I was.
Right, they reached their peak, but you felt there was something more in there. And you wanted to make sure that you didn't go out and not maximize it.
Right, exactly.
Understood.
Sure.
Jenni?
You've had some really strong women in your life. You had your mom that encouraged you to practice and put the horns in your hands when you wanted them. And you had your late wife, Lucille, who passed away this past November, who was also your business manager and who was your encourager. And I understand that she was the lady who prompted you to keep that performance after September 11th. So if we could, let's talk about
and that's what I really want to do. I'm glad you led into that. This experience, you were in your apartment about 6 blocks from the World Trade Center. I got to the World Trade Center about 6 weeks after 9/11.
Right.
And I know that I was there on the transportation conference, and I took a train up to to the station, and we couldn't get a cab there. We got as close as we could, and then we walked. And I know that there was my hairs went up on the back of my neck as I got close. When I turned the corner and actually looked at the smoldering ruins less than a half a block away, there was a sense of sadness. I tried to call my wife. I got choked up. The sadness was replaced by anger. And then I thought somebody should pay. And then I experienced some other emotion. I mean, it was a very emotional place and time. And ultimately, I felt that somebody should pay, and then I felt a sense of guilt that I would feel good if somebody else suffered as a result of the suffering that had taken place. I don't know if you can understand that.
I can understand it completely.
And so your experience being that close, and you were there the day it happened.
Oh yeah.
Could you just talk about it a little bit and how that led you to do this album Without a Song, the 911 concert?
Yeah, no, I sure will. But what you just said is very profound, and I want to, just comment on that. I think this is a problem with the world. I mean, revenge, this kind of stuff. Everybody says Jesus. Well, Jesus said, turn the other cheek. I don't see nobody turning the other cheek. We want revenge. Mm-hmm. So therefore, your emotion when you said, well, wow, I want to kill somebody else, that's probably wrong.
Yeah, I understand that. And that's the guilt. The guilt came right after the thought that somebody's got to pay for this.
There you go.
And then the fact that I thought that if we retaliated and somebody paid for this senseless carnage, that I would not feel bad or that I would even feel glee or satisfaction, caused me a tremendous amount of guilt. That emotion is what I couldn't handle.
I commend you because you are a thinking individual, and you have. There's a lot of people that think like that, and there's a lot of people that don't think like that. Mm-hmm. But at any rate, so I commend you for having thought it through and coming to this conclusion. I think it's a correct conclusion. But at any rate, I was in my apartment waiting to go out, and I lived up on the 39th floor. And I heard this plane coming in very low, Mm-hmm. So I said, gee, how's this plane sounds kind of low to be flying, And then next thing I heard this pow. So I said, gee, what the heck happened? And I dragged out. We had an old black and white TV there because I don't like to watch TV.
I haven't gone to India and meditated and went into monastery and all. You can value quiet.
There you go.
Okay, so you drug it out because you said, what's going on?
Right. And I looked at the TV and I got a channel there because it should have been thrown out a long time ago. But I got an image, and it showed the other plane coming into the other tower. So I said, well, let me hurry up and go downstairs. So when I went downstairs, of course, I saw the tower burning, up at the top, and there was women were crying in the streets and everything, and a little bit of chaos. Then the other tower came down, and when that other tower, the second one that was hit, came down first. When that one came down, the people, myself included, we were sort of standing there looking at the first. So then he said, man, we better run, because if that thing falls sideways, yeah. Or sideways, that's it. Because, we would be dust. So anyway, we started to run for a second, and then, for a minute there, I got scared and started to run for a second. Then we stopped. Somebody said, no, it came down on itself. It just imploded onto itself. Mm-hmm. So then we went back. We didn't go far. I mean, a few steps, really. and so we went back and started looking at the other tower burning, and but then there was a lot of toxic fumes and stuff began to come all over the place then from that other tower, which isn't that far. Both towers are fairly close to each other. So anyway, it was nothing to do. We couldn't do nothing, so I went back upstairs and we sat it out. There was nothing we could do. Nobody could go nowhere. And like a fool, I started practicing my horn.
You started playing?
Yeah.
Well, it's logical that you would go to the horn in a moment of high emotion.
Yeah,
because you made a career out of transferring emotion through your horn to your audience.
Yeah, well, that's what I did, man. But, I wasn't thinking because I played a little while, then my stomach began feeling funny. And then I said, no, let me stop playing. I don't feel... So, it was a few days later, then, when all this stuff came into me, I realized, well, man, I was inhaling a lot of toxic fumes. Even though I was in my apartment and the windows were closed and all that, but still, that it still is a toxic. I'm still suspicious about the cleaning of a lot of those buildings.
Agreed.
I don't think they were cleaned completely.
No, you could smell it for years. It was going to be in the air. They didn't get all of that dust. It was still piled high on the cars in the parking lots and everything else. There was just no way, and it was a combination of all kinds of, including concrete powdered to dust. No way you can. Right.
Computers, everything. It was this was an environmental tragedy of they never knew they could have something like this.
Yeah, if it was in downtown New York, they probably would. It's almost the closest thing to Chernobyl where they had the nuclear disaster.
I certainly believe so. And a lot of people that went down there to work, firemen, policemen, all that, a lot of those people have very chronic diseases that they'll never get over, really serious lifelong diseases from working down there.
Right.
That's what makes them just a little bit more heroic, because they didn't stop to think about it, didn't stop to measure that. They just went in to take care of things.
Right.
Well, let me do this. When I come back, I want to talk about the fact that out of this, within 4 days, they had a concert for the people in New York. Is that correct?
Well, actually, it was people in Boston.
Oh, it was in Boston. Okay. And 4 days after 9/11.
Yeah.
And you went up there with all of these emotions, all of these experiences, all of these thoughts, and out of it came your album, Sonny Rollins Without a Song, the 911 concert. We'll talk about that because I know we can't keep you much longer. We appreciate the time that you've given us, and we'll be right back. I'm Bob Jones. You're listening to Common Sense. My guest, Jenni Trejo, and the legendary Sonny Rollins here on News Talk 1440 Keys. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I'm back, sir.
Okay.
Okay. So now, were you already booked for the? I'm talking to the legendary great Sonny Rollins. I mean, those of you who've been listening, those who've just tuned in. I mean, I can say his name over and over and over. His album, and I've played it over, and we're playing it for the entire 3 hours on this show. All our intro, all our extra, and we're playing it, some of it very deeply. We're not just using intros and out. We're playing a lot of it. Okay, sir. I just want you to know we're playing this.
I appreciate that.
And were you already booked to go to Boston 4 days after 9/11? Or
yeah, we had been booked, of course, months in advance to play in Boston. But after this event happened on 9/11. And I was evacuated from my New York City apartment on 9/12 because I tried staying there for a while. As I told you, I was practicing in my apartment and all that. Then, of course, all the lights went out, phones went out, there was nothing. So the next day, the National Guard evacuated me and everybody out of that area and out of my building. And there was about 4 people. We had to go down 39 flights of steps there in the dark.
And your physical condition, you just had a birthday September 7th.
That's right.
He's a young man.
And that was your what birthday? What number is that?
Well, I was born in 1930. So you have to figure it out, man.
Well, yeah. Jenny we have it down here because I do know that when you return to the studio in 1998, you were 68 then.
Okay.
So he's still a young man. That's all we need
so
to
you're
know.
over 70 now, but like I said, that's all relative.
Yeah, it is. Very, very true.
So tell us about choosing that song, Without a Song.
Why Without a Song?
Well, that's very interesting. Without a Song is a number I played a long time ago. When I came back from the Bridge, I made a album called The Bridge, and I played Without a Song. Without a Song was a number that I had heard as a child. One of my idols, Paul Robeson, the great singer, he sang it, and I always liked it, the sentiment and the music, everything about it. So I had really not been playing that song for years and years and years and years. And I just recently had brought that song up to the band and said, let's play this song Without a Song. So that concert where we played it was actually probably the first time we had played it. I mean, in many, many years. It's the first time that group had played it, and the first time I had played it in decades. So it's very unusual that I happened to choose that song. It was played right after this momentous event, 9/11.
But it makes sense to me. Without a song, the day would never end. Without a song, the road would never bend. When things go wrong, a man ain't got a friend without a song.
It's perfect.
You were saying that we can't recover unless we get a song.
That's right.
Unless we get some music into our soul.
Well, Bob, you were constantly edifying me with some very profound thoughts. I mean, I've never met you before, but you appear to me to be a very spiritually evolved person, and I'm glad to get a chance to meet you, even though it's over the radio.
I saw you as a kid. They let me into the club. I was underage in Philadelphia. In Philly. I think you did Pep's Musical Bar in Philly, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the Starlight Supper Club?
Sure.
Up by Erie. I mean, yeah, I saw you. They looked at me and they let me in. They told me I couldn't drink, but they would let me in.
That's nice.
And I came in, and you know what? When I was in Vietnam, I'm a Vietnam veteran also.
Right.
When I was in Vietnam, you know what I used to play all the time when I was back at base camp after we came back from ops out in the boonies? I would play your rendition of Elfie.
Oh yeah.
I know it. I mean, it was just easy. It was relaxing. It was melodic. We would come out, from being scared and tense and all like that, and that rendition of Elfie, forget the movie, forget the fact that, the soundtrack and all, just that album and the melody and the method and the what do they call it? The temper. I'm boggled for words because my mind is back there now in 68.
Wow.
I mean, it really I would drift off and I could find that I could go to sleep in Vietnam.
Without a song.
Without a song.
See? Without a song.
Jenny, do you have a final comment? I could talk to you forever, and you know it.
Mr. Rollins, tell us about that audience at
in
the
Boston
and that night when you did the 9/11 concert. What was the tone of the audience that night?
Well, one of the planes left from Boston, so a lot of people were felt very close to the accident, even though it happened down in New York. And the people were just like we were. It was sort of numb and sort of, it was a funny feeling. It's strange, though. I must say that around the time of that accident, people were very kind and nice to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And,
that's right.
It lasted for a little while, and then people got back to being the same old way that we are now, I would say. But for a while after that accident happened, everybody was nice, kind and courteous and everything, all this stuff, But anyway, the audience that night, they were sort of numb because they were, everybody was in shock in a sense.
Yeah.
And they were just, but later on, I understand they were glad that we came up there and played because it gave them a sense of normalcy and that, life goes on. We have to keep on.
Yeah. Were some of your band members with you at your apartment on 9/11?
No, but they all lived in New York, so
they were all affected.
They came up. We got a special bus to pick everybody up and drive them up to Boston because there were no flights at that time.
The CD Without a Song, the 9/11 concert, there's nothing somber about it. It sounds like a celebration. There's something that you said to the audience that night that I've got a quote here, and I'm going to quote you, where it says, "Music is one of the beautiful things of life. Maybe music can help, I don't know, but we have to try something these days." And that's what you left them with, and I understand that they gave you a thunderous applause for that, and you might have revitalized some people that were somber. And again, there's nothing somber about the music that you that came out of a different part of your heart and soul that night.
Oh, that's very, very nice of you to say that. And no, I think music has to be a positive experience. It should be all the time.
Well, it was a big band song. It was a Gershwin tune, I believe, correct?
What's that now?
The original. Tommy Dorsey's people played it without a song.
Yeah.
And I started off the show playing Frank Sinatra singing Without a Song.
Right. Frank Sinatra sang it too.
That's right. And then I brought you in playing it.
Right.
And some people play it real low and mellow. Da, 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 da.
Sure.
Not
You didn't do that. Yours was an uplifting rendition of a song. It's like saying, "Hey, I got my troubles and woe, but as sure as I know the Jordan will roll.
There you go.
I'll get along as long as the song is strung in my soul."
Yeah, that's it.
Without a song. and you captured that, and you can feel it.
Well, I'm very happy about that.
Well, I'm going to let you go because I have to.
Yeah.
But you don't know the honor and the privilege it is to introduce you to the South Texas listening audience. We go almost to San Antonio and down in the valley towards Brownsville. And the South Texas listening audience is going to be richer for my having had the honor to have you live with us here in South Texas.
Before we let you go, let me.
See, she don't want to let you go yet. Before you let, I ain't letting you go. She said.
We're about to have the 45th annual Texas Jazz Festival here in Corpus Christi in just another couple of weeks, and a lot of the music that comes out is an influence of Sonny Rollins. And you mentioned earlier in the interview about feeling an obligation to your maker to pay forward, and I'm telling you, you're doing a great job, and I want to thank you on behalf of the musicians in this area that are going to gather to do what you've left them. You've given them a song. You're not leaving this world without a song, Sonny Rollins. You're doing a great job.
Well, you people have given me one of the best radio interviews of depth and meaning that I've had in a long time.
Because we really love you. We really love you. We really appreciate your craft and everything that you've done for us. It's in my household.
I want to thank you. And
I will send. I'm gonna send a copy of this interview to what's her name, Jenny?
To Terry Henty.
To Terry Henty, and ask her will she send it to you.
I'd love that.
All right.